Welcome everybody to today's session. This is going to be the first in a 3-part series in helping you understand what it takes to make a marriage thrive. Today's session will be discussing 3 categories that I find marriages fall in. The next session will cover the basics of 3 fundamental principles that, when are incorporated into a marriage, will truly help and really create a thriving marriage. The final session in this series will be putting those 3 fundamental principles into practice and how they look interconnected with one another. Before we get to today's topic, let's talk about marriage and how it begins. And marriage is something that most people can relate to. Most people will eventually get married. The question will be, will that marriage last? And if it lasts, will it be a successful, happy marriage? How does it all start? Obviously, it starts with 2 people. They meet, they start to get to know each other, and they fall in love. And as they get to know each other even better, they start to think maybe this person is the one. And as they get closer together, they eventually get engaged. And then they start planning the magical day. They start hoping and dreaming what their life is going to look like and what they're going to accomplish together as a united team. Eventually, that day comes. That day that both have been looking for a lifetime. Well, especially the woman in the marriage. Women, you can probably relate. If you're married, you probably dreamt about your marriage day since you were a little girl. You maybe even reenacted it several times. You imagined what your wedding dress would look like, who you would invite, where it would be. It truly was going to be a magical and perfect day. Then that day arrives, and it is magical. It is everything you dreamed. You're marrying the person of your dreams. Everything goes as planned. It's a day to remember. And then you start your life together. You have, again, hopes and dreams together. Eventually you have children that you raise together in harmony. And you grow old together. And then one day you go to bed with each other, and you lay down and hold each other, and you pass away peacefully in your sleep in each other's arms. That kind of sounds like it could be a movie ending. Well, anyway, it's the dream. It's the dream that you've always hoped for and that you imagined throughout your life. That's what we all hoped for before we got married. And if we're not married, that's what we're hoping for. What nobody does hope for is how it all starts. We meet someone, we fall hopelessly in love, we get engaged, we again plan that special day, and everything goes as planned. And it even goes really well for maybe a few years. You have a couple of children, and you start working towards that ultimate dream. But then something happens. You get wrapped up in your own lives, in work, in rearing children, or any other activities, and you start to drift apart. You start to spend less time together. You start to communicate less effectively and less often. Little things start to creep in, like criticism and selfishness, and you start to notice each other's faults and things that you don't like about each other. And this goes on for an extended period of time, and eventually the marriage ends in divorce. That dream, that hope is shattered, and it's cited as irreconcilable differences. Unfortunately, this is all too often the case. About 50% of marriages end in divorce. My hope is to help you have the dream, to achieve that goal, that dream, that happily ever after that you hope for in marriage. I do what I do because I believe that is possible. So therefore, I want to give you hope. I want to give you the belief that happy, successful marriage is truly possible. As a marriage counselor, I find that marriages fall into one of three categories. The first one is a train wreck marriage, and that is, just as it sounds, a disaster. And if it's continued for any length of time, those marriages do end in divorce. You've known somebody that's lived in a train wreck marriage. You may yourself even be in one. I hope that's not the case. And if it is, we need to correct course quickly. But these marriages are toxic. And again, they do end in divorce. In the middle of the spectrum are surviving marriages. These marriages aren't train wreck marriages, and they're not thriving marriages. They're what I call getting by. And it's my opinion and belief that most marriages fall in this spectrum. They're okay marriages, but they're not what they could be. And again, that's what we want to get to. We definitely don't want a train wreck marriage, and we don't want a surviving marriages. Those are pretty empty marriages. What we want is the third category. And the third category is a thriving marriage. This marriage is firing on all cylinders. When we interact with these couples that are in a thriving marriage, we know it. We can see it, we sense it, we can feel it. They love each other, they like each other, they enjoy being around each other, they enjoy similar interests, they can talk about a lot of different things, and they practice certain characteristics of a thriving marriage. Just because they like being around each other and they enjoy each other's company, it also doesn't mean that they have to be around each other all the time. They're secure enough with themselves and confident enough with the relationship that they can also be apart. They can do things with their friends. They can have other interests outside the marriage, and it doesn't distract from the quality of the relationship. Both thriving marriages and train wreck marriages take effort, but they take different types of effort. And I'm going to use an analogy of a job to describe the type of effort that it takes in both a train wreck marriage and a thriving marriage. Let's start with train wreck marriages. This is likened to a job that we absolutely hate. Most of us have probably had some job that is just miserable and that we just dread getting up and going to each and every day. These jobs tend to suck the life right out of us, and they take a significant amount of effort and energy just to get up, get there, get through the day so that we can get home. These jobs make us miserable. They can even create depression and just a sense of hopelessness in our life. And this sounds like a lot of marriages. They take exhausting effort just to get through any given day. And that is obviously really unhealthy. And again, if we stay in those marriages for any length of time, it will end in divorce. Let's contrast this to thriving marriages or a job that we absolutely love. These are jobs that we are passionate about, that we really have a sense of meaning and purpose when we get up in the morning and get ready for this type of job. We enjoy going. We value the contribution that we give to it. Now, this type of job, we definitely put a lot of effort in. We look forward to it. We see how we can be the best at it, and we're always trying to improve and educate ourselves in being the best at that job. And that takes, again, a lot of effort. But it's not exhausting effort in the way that going to a job that we hate is. It's enjoyable effort. And it really doesn't seem like much effort at the end of the day. Because when we get home, we feel like we've accomplished something worthy. Again, this is like a thriving marriage. These marriages take a lot of effort. They take a consistent desire to want to be our best, to learn and to grow with our spouse and through the process of the marriage. So important lesson number 1 is thriving marriages take effort. And it's my guarantee and promise to you that if you are willing to put in the effort into your marriage, into your relationship, you will have the dream. You will have the happily ever after. Now let me be clear. This does not mean you won't have your challenges and your problems. All great marriages have challenges. They go through dark times. But because of the quality of that relationship, they're able to get through those challenges. And both husband and wife will most likely even grow throughout those challenges. And 1, become better themselves individually. And 2, it will make their marriage stronger and a greater quality. So I hope this was helpful to start this process in understanding what it takes to have a successful marriage. I want you to be able to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what category do we fall in? Are we a train wreck marriage on the brink of divorce? Are we surviving? Are we just getting by and just kind of going through the motions and not really super connected? Or are we thriving? Are we truly enjoying being with each other? And do we look forward to each day with that person, with our spouse? I hope you can say you're thriving. But if you're not, and you're like most couples that find themselves over time in a surviving mode, then again, I want to give you the skills and the tools to get to thriving. So please, tune in to the next session where we can really discuss the 3 fundamental principles that it takes to have a thriving marriage. Then in the 3rd session, we'll look at how those 3 principles go together and work together to make a thriving relationship and marriage. I appreciate your time. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up and please share it with somebody that it may be useful. Also, if you have any topics of interest that you would like me to cover, please put those in the comment section below. Until next time, make it a great day and make it a great week.